Hello, welcome to Jason the Old Millennial. My name is Jason, speaking to you here in my basement in the great state of Kansas. And in this video, I'm continuing my ranking all of the Beatles songs. At this point, I'm now down to 126. I'm going to do 5 Beatles songs here, 126 through 122 on my list. So I'm getting a little closer to my top 100 here. There's so many Beatles songs, I think 213 in all. So it's taken quite a lot of time to get down to it, but enjoy kind of talking about each one and my opinion of them. These are songs I put in my okay category. Not my favorite Beatles songs, but not bad. Decent songs that I'll listen to every once in a while. So at 126, I got the song called "Not a Second Time." It comes off the With the Beatles album, so their second album. So it's kind of an early song. It was inspired by Smokey Robinson, which I've talked a lot about him. It seems like almost every song is inspired by Smokey Robinson, kind of early Motown type songs that they were listening to at the time. Smokey Robinson, one of the great songwriters at the time. Uh, do a lot of them, a lot of Chuck Berry, a lot of those kind of artists they really loved that they either covered or their songs were definitely very inspired by them, including this one. It's mostly written by John at this point, sung by John, and it's a catchy early Beatles song off With the Beatles. With the Beatles, one of my, I mean, it's my least favorite of the Beatles albums. It didn't have as many big hits, I think, but still a solid song, I think. Not one you hear a lot or talk about a lot, but still not a bad one. Not a second time at 126. At 125, I have a song called Devil in Her Heart. Uh, it's a cover song sung by George Harrison off of the album With the Beatles again. At this point, George doing more cover songs, or he wasn't writing a lot of his own songs at this point. So he did a lot of covers like Roll Over Beethoven. Here we got Devil in Her Heart. Um, it was written by someone named Richard B. Drapkin, and it was originally recorded by the Dones. I'm guessing is how it's pronounced. It's not a group I'm familiar with, or Richard Drapkin. Sounds like more of a early like Motown type song to me. It was originally called "Devil in His Heart," but they changed it around for "Devil in Her Heart" for some reason for this recording, and they needed something for George probably, so they song they must have probably done, I'm guessing, in live concerts, and so they put it on the With the Beatles. Anyways, I think it's actually a pretty decent tune. It's not one again. A lot of times cover songs aren't. Beatle fans don't usually like the cover songs as much as originals, so it's usually pretty down on lists. I think I like it maybe a little more than others, but it's got great harmonies in it, which I love the Beatles for is their harmonies, and I love that George actually does a pretty good job at the lead vocals, and it's a catchy little song that I think is actually not too bad. I don't mind it. It's not one of my favorites, but it's one that I don't mind listening to. And like I said, with the Beatles, it's the least favorite album to listen to anyway, so I don't listen to it a lot, but still not bad at 125, Devil in Her Heart. 124, I have a song called Thank You Girl. This is a song that doesn't appear on any albums. It was the B-side to their song From Me to You, which was I believe their third single that came out, and it was their second number one after Please Please Me. So this is very early Beatles, came from 1963, so a really early Beatles song, B-side. Again, For Me to You, great song, number one single. Thank You Girl is your B-side. That's a pretty good A-side, B-side. A-side being one of their top songs, and then B-side being a very, I think, Thank You Girl is a very solid B-side song. It's You have to listen to past masters to really hear the song, like I said, because it doesn't come on any albums. I think it's actually really solid early Beatles songs. Obviously, they're just at the very beginning of their writing hit tunes, and so they're just at the beginning. And then, of course, when they get She Loves You and I Want You to Hold Your Hand, I mean, they just start steamrolling number one hits. And so, Thank You Girl is maybe one of their lesser known singles coming out amongst all these huge hits, but still, Beatles know how to write a good, catchy song. And I think Thank You Girl is a decent song. I think I like it more than most. Most have this pretty low on their list. I think I have it a little bit higher because I actually quite enjoy it as a catchy early Beatles rock tune, anyways. And I really enjoy some of those early Beatles stuff like that. So I have that at 124. 123 is one of their kind of big early songs, really the first big early song, and that's "Love Me Do." It's their first single, so pretty historic. It's a pretty historical song for the Beatles. The first single that they came out with after they signed on with EMI, and George Martin was their first, or was their producer, and he was looking at songs that they've written. I think they had 4 or 5 songs that they have written that they played in front of George Martin. And George Martin, it's funny if you read Tune In, the big book that I'm talking about. I did a video on, which is this 800-page book just on the first couple of years of the Beatles, basically. When they came to George Martin and showed him the songs, George Martin wasn't totally crazy about any of the songs that they showed him, and it wasn't like, I don't know if any of these are huge hits. I'd rather have somebody who's written a hit write a hit for you. But the Beatles, of course, John Lennon or Lennon McCartney, and was like, no, we want to write our own hit song. We don't want to rely on other writers. Really pushed having one of these songs, and George Martin said, well, "Love Me Do" is the best out of what you showed me. Basically, he wasn't even like totally crazy about "Love Me Do" as like a hit song. He said, well, "Love Me Do" has potential maybe to be good compared to all the other stuff. So that's how we got "Love Me Do" as the first single. And we're talking 1962. I mean, so very early Beatles, of course. And it was mostly written by Paul. Both, I think, sing on it. And it came out and did fairly well. For a first hit, it was number 19 in the UK. So not a number one song, but still, for your first song, you're not always going to hit number one single. So I think they still felt pretty positive that the first song out went number 19. The first song they've written going as a single, did pretty good. I think that really proved to George Martin that, maybe we got something here with this writing team with Lennon McCartney, that they can't write a song that's a hit on the radio and does well as far as singles go. And of course, after this, they do "Please Please Me," which is the number one song, and then they come out with "Please Please Me" album that has both "Love Me Do" and "Please Please Me" on it. So those were kind of the two big songs at the time that were promoting that album. So it was definitely a big song for them at that time. For me, it's a decent song. It's not one of my favorites of the early stuff. I just find it very simple, guitar-wise, not really a guitar solo in there. I do like the harmonica. I like the early songs with harmonica, sound really good. Lyrically, nothing special, which is pretty common amongst the early songs because they're young and they haven't really had enough experience to really write the great hits yet. But, it's mostly "I love you, you love me" kind of songs, or "I'm sad because we broke up, or whatever, or "I really like this girl. I would like to go out with her," those kind of stuff. So it's very simplified as far as lyrically, I think, musically, all this stuff. So for that, it's not one of my favorite. Still, it's got a good sound to it because it's the Beatles, and you got the good harmonies and everything, and all that. It's not a bad song, but for me, it's maybe a little overrated. It's not one of my favorites. So I have that at 123. And the last song I'm talking about, 122. I'm talking about a lot of early songs. Actually, all these songs are early, except for this one's one of her later songs. It's called "Glass Onion." Comes off of the White Album, written and sung by John. Very interesting song. Of course, White Album, double album, lots of songs. I always feel like "Glass Onion's one that's kind of forgettable song somewhat. I forget that it exists until I'm listening to that White Album, and I'm like, oh yeah, this song, "Glass Onion." And it's not one you ever really talk about or think about or appears on big lists. But it's a decent song, decent rock song. It's more of a rocker than a lot of their songs, I think. So it's not bad as far as that's concerned. Lyrically, everything's okay. Or vocally, everything's decent. But I think what really propels it maybe is the lyrics are very interesting because it's a very meta humor. Because the song references a lot of other Beatles songs, which they've never done before. You don't really hear in music. Like, they talk about "Strawberry Fields," I think, in there, and they talk about, John talks about Paul as the walrus, and a lot of other references to that. And I think a lot of it is because every song they write, fans are always trying to look for clues in their songs, like "I am the walrus" and all that, and there's the whole thing of Paul is dead, and here's all the clues why Paul is dead. So he's kind of putting the song out like, oh, here's a bunch of other clues, you know, kind of right in the song, kind of meta humor of real life, of everybody trying to find clues in the song. So I like that part of the song. I like the meta humor of it, and overall, it's just a decent rocker, but not one of my favorites. Like I said, not one I usually think about too much anyway. So that's why it's down to 122 on my list. So anyway, so that's my list for today. So please feel free to comment what you think of these songs, if they're better or worse than what I'm saying, or should be lower and higher on the list, or just which ones you really like. Love to read the comments, and just thank you for watching the video and for liking it, and just thank you to thank you to the subscribers for supporting the channel. I really appreciate you, and just have a good day.